Was it arrogance or vision? When Mercedes-Benz unveiled the new S-Class W140 in 1991, it intended it to be the best car in the world. Instead, it became the most controversial Mercedes of all time, a technical masterpiece that was far ahead of its time but generated public backlash. In this video, we tell you the complete story of the legendary W140 series, the background on why it was made so large and luxurious, the role of Daimler director Werner Niefer in the competition with BMW and Lexus, technical innovations like the V12 engine, ESP, CAN bus, and LINGUATRONIC, why the W140 was celebrated abroad but ridiculed in Germany, how it went from being the climate killer to icon status as the last true S-Class, a car that wanted to do everything right and yet failed. Or was that perhaps precisely what made it immortal?
Write me in the comments, is the W140 a failed colossus or the last authentic S-Class for you?
Was it arrogance or vision? When Mercedes-Benz presented the W140 in 1991, it was meant to become the best car in the world. Instead, it became the most controversial Mercedes of all time, a colossus that was too large for its era and yet anticipated the future of luxury. The story of an S-Class that wanted to do everything right and still failed. Until today. March 1991, Geneva Motor Show. The automotive world holds its breath as Mercedes unveils its new S-Class. What they see exceeds all expectations, and not necessarily in a positive way. 5.11 meters long, 1.88 meters wide, nearly 1.50 meters tall, the W140 isn't just a new S-Class, it's a statement, a provocation on four wheels. The man responsible for this automotive monolith was named Werner Niefer, Daimler boss with the patience of a general and the temperament of a volcano. Since 1981, Mercedes had invested 3 billion marks in development. 3 billion marks for a car that was supposed to change the world. What resulted really did change everything, but differently than planned. The newspapers overflowed. The TAS described this S-Class as offspring of engineering madness and climate-killing instinct, while Auto Motorsport raved about the best car in the world. Germany was divided, not just politically after reunification, but also automotively. Why did the W140 turn out the way it did? The answer leads to Munich, to BMW. When Mercedes boss Werner Niefer saw the new 7 Series E32 starting in 1986, he was furious. The Bavarians had for the first time put a true competitor on equal footing. Worse still, in 1987, the Mercedes-Benz 126 series with the top V8 560 SEL model lost the Auto Motorsport comparison test against the BMW 7 Series generation because BMW had meanwhile doubled the small 6-cylinder 325i engine into the smooth BMW M70 12-cylinder engine. That was an affront Niefer couldn't accept. He flew into a rage and ordered development work to stop, recalls former BMW developer Wolfgang Reitzle. Mercedes had to redo the work for more than 2 years. The result was an S-Class that not only had to be better than BMW, but better than everything else too. Additionally, a new competitor arrived from Japan. In 1989, Toyota had presented the new premium brand Lexus with the upper-class limousine LS400. This too was too close to his new S-Class for Niefer. Mercedes engineers had to build a car that would eclipse all competitors. What emerged was truly a technical marvel. Mercedes was the first manufacturer worldwide to offer an optional voice control system, LINGUATRONIC, introduced starting in 1996 in the 140 series. As the world's first car, the W140 had ESP, electronic stability program as standard, developed together with Bosch. The engine was a sensation in itself. A completely new construction was the 6.0-liter V12 engine M120, which not only represented Mercedes-Benz first series production 12-cylinder engine for passenger cars, but with a rated output of 300 kilowatts, 408 p, went down in history as the most powerful Mercedes-Benz car engine. More than 100 HP more than the BMW, the hierarchy was correct again. A CAN bus system connected multiple positioning motors and control units, brake assist, traction control ASR, ESP, navigation system, and voice control for the car phone. Up to 60 electric motors provided comfort. Double-glazed side windows improved thermal and acoustic insulation. It was as if Mercedes had built the car of the future, only the future wasn't ready for it yet. Germany reacted with a mixture of fascination and revulsion. When it also became known that the limousine, up to 5.21 meters long, with its 1.89 meters was too wide for the car train to silt, much mockery was added. The Mercedes didn't fit in the travel train, a symbol that couldn't have been more perfect. The fan portal MB-140.de even reports disappointed initial customers. These, after the supposed bad investment of amounts between 88,000 and 200,000 German marks, presented themselves repentantly to BMW for a 7 Series. What an embarrassment for Mercedes! The criticism was devastating and personal. Trend researchers Matthias Horks and Peter Wipperman described the situation in 1995. Reunification created a social and political situation in which any form of representation generated extremely bad resonances. A bulky car that derived its aesthetics from the maxim, "space for important drivers," was a welcome scapegoat. Ironically, Germany was the only country that rejected the W140. In the United States, the Lexus LS400 was attempting the sales king crown, but Daimler successfully counterattacked with the S-Class. Thus, in the first 9 months after market launch, more than 48,000 special class limousines were delivered, while BMW, in all of 1991, only sold 35,000 units of the 7 Series.
While abroad, the Mercedes was strongly applauded, and the large ship secured a market share of 50% and more. At home, especially much criticism rained down. The Americans loved the pure size. The Asians admired the technology. Only the Germans struggled with their masterpiece. But the W140 had problems that went beyond public perception. The price of an S-Class W140 was significantly higher than the predecessor, up to 25%, which led to slow sales during the 1990 to 1994 recession. Worse still, while the base price of a 6-cylinder 300 SE in 1992 was $71,500, the Lexus LS400 started at $44,300, the Infiniti Q45 at $43,600. The Japanese had learned to offer European quality at a fraction of the price. This led to many potential W140 buyers switching to Japanese competitors due to their lower prices, lower maintenance costs, and in the case of the LS400, an owner experience that was as good, if not better, than that of European competitors. What Mercedes celebrated as progress turned out to be a curse. Especially the top models were packed with complex electronics, whose aerodiagnosis and repair cost a lot of money. Particularly treacherous was the wiring harness, whose insulating material decomposed in the hot engine compartment. The Fat Benz had a big problem with electronics. If after starting, not all warning lights in the cabin go out, the worm may be in the CAN bus. What was praised as technical innovation became a nightmare for owners and workshops. In the first vehicles, the quality wasn't right. The doors whistled, the side mirrors vibrated. The payload of the 600 models was so low that 4 people already pushed it to the limit, a luxury car that couldn't transport luxury. Between 1991 and 1998, only around 400,000 cars were sold. With the predecessor, it was more than double in about 12 years. A clear signal, the W140 had been too good.
The development costs and the 18-month delay
led to the dismissal of Wolfgang Peter. As a consequence of price increases and tough competition, Mercedes-Benz changed from engineer's design to market-oriented design in the 1990s. In 1998, production ended after 7 years, an unusually short time for an S-Class. The cars produced under the Maybach brand are also technically based essentially on the 140 series, whose manufacture was only discontinued in 2011. The W140 lived on as a ghost of a failed luxury brand. Many enthusiasts argue that the W140 was the last true S-Class, since its successor, the W220, was criticized for worse engineering and, in the case of early models, poor reliability. 10 years later, hardly anyone would have had critical words about the only seemingly gigantic format and weight, because by the turn of the millennium, all luxury limousines and especially SUVs significantly raised the tolerance threshold for socially acceptable dimensions and weights. The W140 was 10 years ahead of its time. Its size, its technology, its pure presence, all of that later became standard. Today, where BMW X7 and Mercedes GLS roll through the streets, the W140 seems almost modest. The major criticism point of then, namely the size and dimensions of the W140, measured by current standards, is no longer oversized because the current S-Class surpasses it in length and size. What really happened with the W140? It went from villain to prophet, from symbol of decadence to icon of engineering. The stock of the W140 appears strongly depleted to youngtimer lovers. Most have already been exported to Eastern Europe or have fallen victim to rust. Today, the W140 is considered what it always was, an uncompromising statement from an era that still believed that more automatically meant better. A car that wanted to do everything right, and in doing so, did everything wrong except the technology. That works to this day. The W140 wasn't just an S-Class. It was the end of an era in which German engineers could still dream without listening to market research. The last car that wanted to be the best that money could buy without regard to losses. Perhaps that was its greatest mistake.